Hello everyone, Mark again from Steiger Cars. Today I will be changing the gearbox on my Morris Minor 1000. This is a 1970s car with the ribbed case gearbox. The earlier ones had the smooth gearbox. I don't know if there are any differences. I'm only focusing on the one I have. Now there are two ways to do this. One is to remove the engine and gearbox in one, which some people say is easier, but I don't have an engine hoist, so I'll be under the car removing the gearbox and leaving the engine in place. You will need some ramps if you're doing it that way though. Now, although this is a how-to video, it's, well, I'm not professional, I've not done it before, I sort of know what I'm doing, so it's more for reference really, because there are not many videos out there showing this. So I'll be showing every single thing I'll be doing. I'll try and keep the video as short as possible. So yeah, don't take anything I say too seriously, it's just what I'll be doing. So if you want to use it, if it helps you, great. If not, then sorry. So let's get straight to it. Step one, drive up on some ramps. Get yourself a pair if you haven't, they're very useful. Put some chocks behind the wheels. I've left it in neutral with a handbrake on. If you put it in gear, once you disconnect the prop shaft, it might suddenly jolt backwards. So put it in neutral, then you know where the car stands. Once you've done that, step one is to, well, I guess step two is to remove the sump plug for the gearbox, which you can see just there. So I'll do that now. Right, so you'll need a 11/16 socket. It's similar to a 17mm. An 18 will fit, but not quite tightly, so I don't want to burr the bolt. Hopefully it's not too tight. No, it's good. Right, get the bucket ready. Try and keep my gloves clean for this. Ugh. There we go. Should be 1.3 litres come out of there, so not too much. Okay, that's pretty much stopped dripping. Let's put that back in. Notice how the thread still sticks out, so don't over tighten it. That's how it should be. There we go. Right, it's worth pointing out, because I had the front on ramps, I had to then jack up the back because it wasn't fully draining because it was tipped back. So now it's level, it fully drained out. So I wonder if it's worth in future draining the oil first and then driving it up onto the ramps to save jacking up the back. Maybe. Okay, next I'm going to disconnect the battery. I'm then going to disconnect the engine stabilizer, which is this thing here. That will allow the engine to tip later on. And the starter motor needs to come out. So there's one bolt just there and there's one underneath, which I'll show you. So let's do these bits first. Right, again. Right, these are actually imperial. Right, let's pretend that never happened. These are actually imperial, not metric, but a 13 will fit. Just don't touch it on the bar to the terminal. Let's try that again with a spanner. I mean, ideally I should use the imperial ones, but this isn't a tight fit, so I can get away with a wobbly 13 on this occasion. Just be careful. Right, that's done. Now I'm going to move on to the linkage here. Okay, so to remove the link rod, I think it's best to remove it from just there. So for reference, this is a 9/16 socket. Right, that was a bit tight. There's a washer there. Right, that's loose. Good. I might put that back on loosely so I don't lose anything. The less bolts lying around, the better, really. Right, let's do the starter motor. So the top bolt is a 9/16. You can squeeze a 14mm spanner on there, but this fits, so I shall use this for now. Okay, as you can see, the top bolt is out. Now I'm going to go underneath and do the lower one. So from the front, it is, I think it's quite easy to get to from memory. Oh yeah, just there next to the oil sump. Careful of the brake lines. That bolt wasn't tight, that's handy for me. Right, as with the top, you've got the nuts, then the washer, and then the bolt. Right, the whole thing should now pop off. I'm hoping I don't have to disconnect it and it should just rest on the top of the chassis. Let's see what room we've got. There we go. Right, I'll go from the top and just make sure it's resting correctly. Right, there she is. I'll just carefully rest it there so it's clear of the bell housing. Right, next job. Right, next I'm going to remove the gear stick. I've just dropped the car for now because I'm going to climb into it, so I didn't want it wobbling on the trolley jack. So to remove the gear stick, you have to remove the surround first, because you need to access under here to release it. Let's do that. Right, mine's actually got screws. Don't know if they're standard. Not even tight, they're just wobbling. And they're all different sizes. That one's at an angle. I don't know why that's even in there, to be honest. Okay, that's off. Okay, let's have a look, see if the carpet folds up. Yeah, it should do. Right, next we have to remove part of the floor, I think, to get to the bolts, and there's a gearbox cross member we have to remove. Apparently it's just easier to take the floor out, or the floor panel. So under here, I think this whole piece comes off with lots of screws just there, so let's get that done. I think I might go and get an electric screwdriver or something. This is going to take ages. I've been waiting to do this job for weeks, and then as soon as I do it, it rains. It's been lovely. Anyway, bolts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I built this back and saw loads more. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and the middle one. So 13 each side, plus the middle one. This can only get so far, so you need to use something with a big fat head on it, otherwise it's just going to burr. So I'm just going to get the last two out, that one there and that one there, and then let's see if I can pull it up. It looks like it's been sealed, but I should be able to free off okay. Okay, now all the bolts are out, I'm going to see if this thing budges. I just have to be prized off, I think. Might take some time, so I'll get a flat blade in and just start working it around loose, I think. Okay, that wasn't too bad. I've prized it all open, and now it's loose. So I have to clear the pedals there. It's attaching the seats. Someone did say you have to take the seats out to get. Well, all I had to do is just move the seats back. They were in the forward position, which I didn't realise, so I've moved them back, and there's plenty of room to drag it out. So there it is. Oh, whoops. Okay, first thing I'll do is take off the clutch linkage, which is this one. So you need a 7/16 and 2 bolts. Wasn't tight at all, actually. Right, the 2 bolts are out. Hopefully it'll just pop off somehow. Right, there's a split pin just here which joins the clutch adjuster, so I'm going to take this out. Might need a pair of pliers. Oh, I broke it. Or at least it should come out now. There we go. And then there's a washer. But then with any luck, that should just pop off. Right, there's that. The whatever this is, so I'm going to just take it off from the chassis and hopefully just pull it down out the way, minding the brake lines. So again with a 7/16. Right, there's one. And the other one, I might need to get a extension bar on there, I think. Yeah, just about get in there without it. That's good. There's the other one. So with any luck, this should just pop down. Mind the brake lines, mind the cables. There we go. That's just come off the end, so that's just sits there. Okay, that's out of the way. And to save messing around with the adjuster, I might have to adjust it anyway. Hopefully not. I'm just going to push it out from this end and pop that out. There we go. That gets that out of the way. Right, let's do the gear stick. They just pop off. The new gearbox doesn't have one of these, but it's got a blanking plate, so I'm going to swap it over. I guess it's for the reverse light. These are clearly added on there, so I don't think they have one as standard. I'm not sure, but mine's got one. But yeah, I'll look at that later. But yeah, 3 bolts, and this can pop out. Alright, again using the 716. These are coming out no issue at all. I did start off wearing gloves, but they got torn. Right, what have we got? Oh, just a ball joint. Okay, easy enough. Okay, while I'm here, I've just seen an earth strap going to the gearbox, and with the same socket, 716. So let's whip that off. You can do this from underneath as well, but as I'm here. Right, next I'm going to disconnect the prop shaft. So I've got it on axle stands. Good thing is, now the wheels are off, if I need to rotate the prop shaft, I can just put it in neutral and take the handbrake off and spin the wheels. So what have we got? A couple of bolts. Let's see if we can get those off. What I've done just in case is mark, well, I've hacked it with a spanner here and here, so I know which way around it goes in case it's balanced or whatever. Just for peace of mind, I'll put it back the same way. Now you're supposed to use Whitworth spanners. They've got the imperial thread, but I'm using a 13 on here because it's tight, and a 14 which isn't that tight, so hopefully it's loose enough. If it's going to be stiff, then I'll have to get some proper spanners, but let's see. Okay, that was very loose. So yeah, it gets you out of trouble if they're not too tight, a 13 and a 14, so I'll do that for all 4. Hopefully these aren't seized, but everything's so covered in grease and oil, everything seems pretty good under here. So yeah, that last bolt was at the top, so I just took off the handbrake and spun it round, and there it is. Right, okay, I'm on the last bolt. Someone said that more oil might drip out the gearbox once the prop comes out that end, so I put the bowl there just in case. Whoa, okay. Don't want that falling on my head. Okay, there we go. Oh, that wouldn't have hit me on the head, so that just hangs just there. So I think what I need to do now is pull the whole thing backwards, and that's then out the gearbox. Right, here it goes. Oh, there we go. And it was dripping. Great stuff. That's actually dripping out the prop as well. I think I'll just wait for a bit under the car. Right, while I'm under here, I'm going to disconnect the 4 bolts which hold the gearbox to the support bar, whatever it's called. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then once that's done, it'll be these bolts here. Then the whole thing should drop. But before I do drop it, I need to remove the 2 bolts in the bell housing at the top so I can get access to them. But for now, I'm gonna put a bag over this to stop it dripping. And nicked one of my daughter's hair ties, making this more complicated than it needs to be. There we go. Right, so before the gearbox mount comes out, I need to undo 2 bolts at the top of the bell housing, because once the engine drops, these will not be accessible. So there's one just there where the spanner's touching, and there's one just down there. These are 1/2 inch, so I don't have a 1/2 inch spanner. I've got a 13, so if it loosens it without any too much force, then I'll be okay. Otherwise I'll have to go and buy a 1/2 inch spanner. But no, that wasn't tight at all. So that's good. And if these are loose as well. Yeah, they're all loose. So I wouldn't recommend it, but the 13 will work if they're not too tight. I might get a 1/2 one just to nip them up tighter once I finish the job, but yeah, I think we'll be okay. Right, those 2 bolts came out no issues at all. So now the engine can kind of rock back as the support bar gets removed. I have to remove the heater control valve. As the engine tips, that's going to get closer. It's only 2 bolts, because I know that, I've just put it on there. But they're underneath here, so you need to get a spanner in there, and there's no room. It takes a long time to unwind the nut. Right, there we go, did the 2 bolts in the end. Now that has more room to go back without this touching the battery tray, so should have enough movement now. Right, so these are actually a 13, just to add to confusion. Hopefully they're not tight. If they are, you can just use 2 spanners. So there's 1 spanner, and then you put another one on there for extra leverage. But don't even need that, I could have done that by hand. So that one's loose. That one's loose. I mean, that's not even, I don't know, what's the point of the bolts if they're not even done up? Okay, so what I need to do is support the engine with that jack, which I have done. I'm just going to lift it up a bit on the stump with a block of wood. And I then think this whole thing can slowly drop, but I need to just check what's around it, because there's some brake lines here. So I have to be careful of that. Right, there's one. Okay, so it's dropped on both sides. However, I'm concerned when I undo the bolts and put it off, it's just going to potentially damage the wires and brake lines. So I think I will continue to remove the mounts here so it's completely separate from the gearbox. Then I can just remove this completely. The gearbox is supported. I ended up bringing the jack forward just to support the box while I do this, to avoid any damage. So yeah, I'll continue to get these 4 out. I can do these 2 from here, and I can do those from the inside of the car. So let's get that done. Right, so this one's a 1/2 inch. I don't have a 1/2 inch spanner, unfortunately. A 12 or a 13 will have to do for the other 2, but this one's quite tight, so I'd be worried putting a loose spanner on there in case it burrs off. So I might have to go and buy a 1/2 inch spanner. Yeah, that was tight. But again, it wasn't too tight. I got away with using the 13. It's a little bit loose, so ideally you need to use the proper one, which is, just for the record, in case you want to do this properly, it's a 1/2 inch. So a 1/2 inch spanner will be really useful for doing this job, but as nothing is seized so far, I can get away with a 13. It's worth pointing out, I can't get the socket and the bar on there, so that's why I'm using the spanner. Otherwise I would use the 1/2 inch that I've got. Okay, there's the other one from inside. Yep, not too tight at all. And finally, let's see if I can do the other one. Let's go for a full house. Yep, good. So I'll take these 2 out, and then let's see if I can drop this bar out of the way. Oh, I need to also undo the speedo cable, which is there. And I think that's it, actually. Well, before I can get back under the car, the whole thing's falling out. I was supposed to lower this down gently, but never mind, the wire's caught it. Oh, something holding it on there. What's that? Something attached to the gearbox. I'll have to pop out whatever that is before it breaks. It does just unwind from here, so I might try and unwind it whilst connected to this. Let's see how I get on. An 8mm spanner does actually fit on there, so I'll just basically unwind it with this. I'll try and show you. Bit of a slow process, but it turns. Oh, there it goes. There we go. So next I need to unwind this. I wonder if I can do it by hand. I'll have to get some pliers on there otherwise. I think it's turning. There we go. Easy enough. And that just pulls out, I reckon. Yep, there we go. That can stay there. Right, I think it's just the bell housing bolts. I've done the 2 top ones, and I just need to work my way around. There's not that many, to be honest. Okay, time to start undoing the bolts. It's the 1/2 inch. They're not very tight, which is good. So there's one there, one there. I think the rest are at the top on that side. And over here we've got one there and one just there at the top. Might be able to do that from the engine bay, we'll see. So I've moved the clutch linkage out the way, I've tucked it up the top so it doesn't get snagged when this drops. I reckon I can leave it on the jack and then once it's out, support it here maybe, and then lower it gently and just see if it will drop down nicely. It will need to come towards me obviously to get off the shaft so the shaft can clear, and I think it needs to rotate slightly so that can clear, but otherwise it looks like it should be okay. Whoa. Right, there we go. Probably move the jack front away. Lower it down gently. There we go. Wasn't too bad. He says. Hope I didn't damage anything. Okay, I've got the gearbox out. That's the old one. That's the new one. This one's got what I assume is the reverse light switch. I'm not too sure. So that we'll need to swap because this hasn't got anything. It's just got a blanking plate. And that's got that pin thing there. Don't know what that does. So I'll swap that. That's broken on the new one. And so is where the ball joint would sit. So I need to swap it with this plate. Hopefully that'll be easy enough. And then I will need to swap over this because this hasn't got one. Other than that, I think should be good to chuck on. What's that there? That's the speedo cable. That one's been taken out, so I'll have to swap that as well. So after I moved the gearbox, I had a peer in and I noticed the clutch looked slightly off centre. I stuck a socket in there and yeah, it was. So I think what's happened when I removed the gearbox, the shaft must have sort of moved it a bit, and I noticed these bolts weren't tight holding it on, so it had some movement. So I've borrowed this off a local guy who works on classic cars, and should be something else which I've lost. I have to go and find that. But anyway, I'll set up the clutch alignment tool stick it back in, and the gearbox should be ready to go on. So just for reference, what a weird view this is actually. Now I'm under here. Don't often see this side of a classic. Anyway, clutch alignment tool. So I'll try, and I can't really show you, it's already in, but you push this all the way in through the clutch, then you push this bit here through the clutch, so it basically holds it in line. That's nice and solid. And then these are on loose just for now, so that's in. I'm going to tighten them up gradually, bit by bit, until I work my way around, and then they've got to be really tight so there's no movement when you refit the gearbox. Well, gearbox is ready to go on. I'm going to wait for a friend to come round to help me lift it in case I break something. But yeah, it wasn't too bad, to be honest. It's like people said, it's quite easy to work on, but at the state of me, horrible. So ready? Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Just spin it.
Spin it in position, how it should go in. Okay. Just chuck that in there for tonight. Somewhere there. Or there even. Cool. Right, the new box is on. Easy as that. So it takes two of you really just to push it up. Probably could have done it on my own, but I just didn't want to risk it. But once everything's out of the way, there's enough room to kind of push it up and wiggle it into place really. So yeah, now I'm going to put all the bolts back in and then start putting everything else back together. Okay, most of the gearbox housing bolts are in. I've done, let's have a look, that one there, and that one there. So these are accessible from the top. I haven't done those two because they're the starter motor. And then underneath we've got that one there, and this one here. Okay, next I think we should re-hang the gearbox using the cross member and get that back up. First I'm going to just reattach the speedo cable that just pops in and tightens my hand. There's so much grease on my gloves, I'll have to use a towel just to nip it up. Right, next is the cross member. Remember this thing here? That needs to go in just there. So I'm going to basically twist it on like I did earlier, but the other way around. The whole thing twists within there, so it shouldn't damage the cable. So I guess that goes that way. So what I'm doing is twisting it from the other end, then it sort of turns it into the gearbox. So yeah, a bit of a slow process, but does the job. Once it gets too tight, you can just use the 8mm spanner to finish it off. Right, I'm jacking the gearbox back into place so I can then refit this, and that will hold itself up. Right, I had to change the block of wood because my jack didn't go tall enough. So the jack's holding it in place. Now this is ready to go back in with the 4 bolts, and then the jack can come away, and that's the gearbox all hung properly. I decided to put the remaining bolts in at the top next. So now the engine's lifted back in position, you've got room to put the bolts in here. So that one's in, as you can see, and that one I'm just screwing in now. So you can do it by hand to start with, like that. And I did say I was going to get myself a 1/2 inch spanner, but the 13 I've got grips it tight enough to tighten it very nicely without burring it or anything like that. So I'd probably recommend a 1/2 inch spanner anyway, but why not just use this? So that's the ratchet one, which is quite useful at the beginning. because you can actually get it in there. Right, all the gearbox bolts are done up. Now I'm doing the link rod thing, which goes at the top of the engine. Washer there. And then this one is a 9/16 bolt, which I have in my socket set. Right, now the heater control valve can go back on. I'm going to use or reuse this old gasket because it was new, because I only just fit this thing. When I took it off, there was no gasket on there, so if yours hasn't got one, probably be okay, I reckon, because mine never had one. Now these are the bolts that are very hard to get to. This one, you can't get anything on there. I think it's the same with this one. Even if you take this pipe off, you still have the metal pipe sticking out, so there's no way of getting anything on there. So for reference, it is actually a 7/16, but pretty much just can't get anything on there straight enough to turn it. So instead of that, I just use an 11mm spanner, which gets the job done, and it's tight enough on there so it's not going to burr. If you're wondering how to get to this bolt, I can't remember if I showed it earlier, but what you do, get the spanner, put it that way up, tuck this cable behind here so you've got more room, and then if you can see there, it's just about on. So touch the back of the battery wall, whatever it is, and then you can get a little bit of a turn, lift it off and go again. So bit of a slow process, but easily doable. And then this one here, I mean, you get more space if you take off the engine link rod, remove the spark plug cover, and you can basically sort of go in like this. Bit tricky, but you can get there. Okay, so looking from the top down, I'm going to reattach the clutch mechanism. Why am I holding a toothbrush, you ask? Well, I want to hold the pedal in position, so my idea was to put the toothbrush behind the brake pedal. Look at that. Now I can reattach it, knowing it's in the correct position. Let's go underneath the car. Okay, so I have to do this in the same order I took it off in. This one first, so that goes flat against the gearbox, then the spring, and then the ball joint. So that goes in there. Right, so what I've done, I've put in the ball joint first and the spring, and you've actually got quite a bit of movement. So what you do is you put it in like this, put that in place, and then I guess just pop it in somehow. Right, there we go. So that's on. Slide that in position and then chuck the gasket in behind it. And hope I got it the right way around. So that's got to pull away, so I think that's fine, and that's not touching anything. Yeah, I think that's good. So I'll nip up these two bolts here and then line up these two bolts which go in there. Then I can reattach the link arm. So I actually ended up using this little swivel joint, which is quite handy in the end to save time. And that toothbrush was able to hold the clutch pedal in position to get to the bolt just there. Don't know if you can see that. Without the toothbrush, it kind of is blocked by the arm, so you have to hold it out the way yourself. Right, now it's these two bolts here which secure the arm and the spring and the ball joint in. Right, time for the linkage arm. So I think it goes in this way, and then it goes, I guess, that way. And I think there's a washer as well, which must be this one. So that'll go in first. So it points that way. Washer, and finally a split pin. I broke the one that came off, so I'll have to find something else that will fit. Right, that's all done. I'll give it a quick test to make sure that's the right way around, because that can also go at the top, but I think that's good. The cables are clear of it. In fact, I can do that now. Let's remove the toothbrush. Press the pedal. Yeah, I think that's all good. Almost forgot this little spring. I forgot it when I took it off because it was dangling. So it goes on there, and I need to stretch it with a pair of pliers, I think. Oh no, there we go. Don't forget the air strap. I did. Goes on here, and I think, can't remember where it went, but I've just put it on here for now. Just undo one of these bolts, or put it back where it came from. I really can't remember. Right, time to rehang the prop shaft. So first thing to do would be to put it in this end here. Should just slide in. Right, there we go, that's on. And now this end, it's going to be hung with the bolts. Right, once the diff's in place, you need to remove it again and then line it up with the markings, because I completely forgot. So there's one, and the other one, where is it? Right, there I think. So bolts back in. Right, there we go. The wheels are still off the ground, so I can rotate the wheels if I need to. Oh, the handbrake's on, but I can spin it around. I'd still recommend getting some imperial spanners, but this seems to work. I've jammed a 13 just on the edge, just to get it wound on there. Seems to be working okay for now. Right, all bolts are on. Now you can either do what I did when I took it off, is put the handbrake on, use the correct spanner on there, the imperial spanner. What I'm doing, leaving it in with the handbrake off so I can rotate it. A 13 fits nicely on here, and I'm using a 14 just to nip it up, so you can hold it with the 13 and kind of counter it and just tighten it up so all four are nice and tight. And there we go. So it just occurred to me, when you fit the spring for the clutch lever arm, what it does to the pedal, it I'll show you. So if I pretend I fitted the spring, watch the pedal, it moves it right up to sort of that position, sticking too far forwards. Now I think it might be a bit difficult to fit the floor when the pedal's sticking out, so for now I'm just going to release the spring and leave it there. Once the floor's back in, I'll then clip it on. Right, time for the starter motor to go back in. I left it just there, propped up on the chassis, so if I mount the camera there, hopefully you can see. Sorry about that spring, ignore that. Okay. Right, that went in nicely. Just the two bolts to nip up, then we're good. Okay, this is a 9/16, and I'm holding the nut. Sorry, I'm holding the bolt with a 14 spanner. That always happens. You think it's too tight by finger, then you put the ratchet on, then it's too loose for the ratchet. Let's try that. So much oil and grease, I've got no grip. There we go. Someone said this job takes 45 minutes. They're having an absolute laugh. Even with the ramp. I can't see that happening. Not start to finish anyway. Right, top bolt. Okay, that's the top starter bolt on. In this case I used a 14 and a 15 spanner just to hold it in place, as I don't have imperial ones, but they work just fine. I was able to tighten it plenty without any risk of bearing, so all good. Okay, so the 4 gearbox mounting bolts need to go in. Now what I'm doing is using a crowbar just to wiggle it around a bit, because there's rubber here, so there's plenty of movement. So I found the bolt wasn't quite lining up, so I'm just gonna wheel it around until it goes in. That's the door creaking, not my knees. So using your 1/2 inch spanner, in my case a 13, I'm just going to whip the bolt in. Ratchet spanner's much easier on this. Okay, all 4 bolts are in. 1, 2, 3, 4, tighten that up. I ended up using a flat blade screwdriver just to wiggle these around a bit to line them up, but yeah, there we go. Okay, now the floor can go in. Hopefully it should be easy enough. Yep, that's all in place. Now to screw them in. Right, all the bolts are in. That's one of the worst jobs actually on this. It takes ages. When it's undersealed as well, there's so much resistance and you've got to be careful not to burr the screws out. But yeah, got there in the end. Now for the gear stick, which is here. Just check there's no crud on there. Still plenty of grease in there. There's like a notch on the side there that has to line up. It's quite easy. There we go. Just tighten that up with the 3 bolts. Okay, 3 bolts for the gear stick, 7/16 socket. And there we go. Time to test the gear linkage now. So we've got neutral first, second, third, fourth, reverse. All good. Now the carpet can go back. Central carpet goes back in. I think it goes this way. Now it has lost its stick, so if the mats don't hold it down, it might be worth putting some spray adhesive on there, but should be able to get away without doing it. Right, I've tucked all the carpets back in, easy enough. I'm going to put the gear sticks around back on. It'd be rude not to quickly peel off the flaky paint and blast it with a rattle can, so let's do that. Right, quickly sprayed this up. I'm using this little screwdriver to locate the holes, so I'll put each screw in one by one using that. Well, that was a bit of a pig. I just basically had to put this in and wiggle it around. The problem I've got is I have the you can see the bulge there, that thing sticking out with the plugs on it, which isn't standard, so there's just no room for this to go on, so I had to sort of stretch it over it, but yeah, it's all right. It's not quite centralized, but that's just how it is. Oh, and my new paint flaked off as well. Great. Right, time to fill up the gear oil. Now the fill plug is actually just there behind that cover, so let's get that off. Right, got it off, screwdriver. There's the fill plug. So I'm not sure if this is imperial or metric. It's a toss up between a 11/16 and an 18. I found the 18 fits a bit better. This doesn't go all the way on, the imperial one. Put that on. Right, hopefully it won't be too tight. That's all right. Careful not to lose the plug. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You can use a hose pipe and wedge your funnel into the end of it, like so, and then you just hold it up above and let it pour in, or invest in one of these. It's a pump and it's good for filling up gearboxes, diffs, hard to reach places, and you've got this as well which you can pop out. So you just fill it up in here and pump it in. Now the gearbox takes 1.3 litres, and if you're doing an engine change and have a 5 litre one, it's the exact difference. So because the engine takes 3.7 litres. So I've put 1 litre in here. I'll put that in first, then do the remaining 0.3 litres afterwards. Okay, in it goes. Takes quite a while this, but at least it's easy and there's less chance of any mess. Okay, after a while this is hard work. I'd recommend trying to maybe sit in the car so your arms are downwards to get more blood in them. It's like resuscitating Chuck Norris. Right, I've put another 0.3 litres on top of the 1 litre, so all should be good. Plug goes in. Make sure it's in before you crank it with the ratchet in case you cross thread it. Oh, fucking bitch. So I'm not sure if this is imperial or metric. It's a toss up between a 11/16 and an 18. I found the 18 fits a bit better. This doesn't go all the way on, the imperial one, but I'm not too sure. That seems just fine. Right, cap back on. There we go. Then the carpet back. Tuck that under, and that's the job done. Right, don't forget to top up the water because it all came out when we removed the heater control valve at the back. Right, make sure all the plugs and leads are back on that you may have unplugged. These bolts are on, and finally the battery. Right, there we go. Careful not to touch here and here. Don't ask me how I know. Well, I think I've done it. Everything's on, it's all back together. I've just given it a run on the axle stands. All the gears seem to work. Well, I got away with that one. Let's give it a road test and see. And there we go, job done. Everything is on, everything works. I hope that was useful for you. If I was to do the job again, I could do it in a couple of hours. I reckon that took me probably a day and a half if I was to add up everything. I had some breaks in between, but I reckon now I know what I'm doing, I could probably do it in under a day. People who say you can do it in like 45 minutes, I don't believe you personally, but hey, maybe you can, I don't know. But anyway, I hope that video was useful for you. If you are doing the job yourself, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Put it that way. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.